Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, Well, the holiday season is back. My favorite time of year. I love Christmas. And what better Christmas present to give to all of us, the movie-going public, than another installment in Sony's hilariously pathetic attempt to create a cinematic universe of movies based on a rogues gallery of villains who are only interesting as foils for a superhero who doesn't appear in any of them. Yeah, so instead of a nice Christmas movie, and I'm a sucker for a good Christmas movie, Sony decided to use December as a dumping ground for the latest, and turns out last, entry in their Sony Spiderverse. A shared universe so piss-poor and so ill-conceived that, despite some inexplicable successes with those god-awful Venom movies, has already collapsed under the weight of its own incompetence thanks to the one-two punch of Morbius, Madam Web, and now delivering the knockout blow is Kraven the Hunter, a movie so hysterically dumb that the fun we all had with the It's Morbin Time meme feels like the glory days of this franchise by comparison. Now that being said, I don't think Kraven is the biggest cinematic disaster of the year. I've seen a couple movies that were worse, not many of them, but for where this one ranks in the Sony Spiderverse, I'd put it somewhere in between Morbius and Madam Web in terms of quality, but make no mistake, if we're talking biggest pieces of shit in 2024, it's in the conversation. Kraven the Hunter is a terrible movie. And not to put another I told you so out there or anything, but it's just the latest example of how Sony and Amy Pascal don't know their asses from their elbows when it comes to these properties because they keep making the same goddamn mistakes over and over in every single one of them. If you're gonna make a Kraven movie without Spider-Man, which apparently was a choice, not a requirement, it's a terrible idea, it's destined to flop, but you could try it. There's stuff in the comics you could pull from to give it a shot, theoretically, but the script reads like the writers have never picked up a single comic book in their lives, glanced at the Marvel wiki to get some of the characters' names, and then just made some shit up. And maybe it would align with the comics, maybe it wouldn't, they really didn't care. Which, by the way, is the same damn thing they did with Madam Web, Morbius, and to a lesser extent, Venom. Now, what Kraven the Hunter has over those movies is a lead actor who actually really embodies the character. If we're talking redeeming qualities, Aaron Taylor Johnson is like the one good thing here. Frankly, he's better than he had any right to be in a movie this stupid. Not that he has to do any acting, he really doesn't. He pretty much has one facial expression in the whole movie and it never requires him to break out a second one. But the guy got himself into f***ing incredible shape and he's really good with action. He sells it well, he's very convincing, his physicality is on point. Dude absolutely committed to this role. He's so good at this stuff that if he was in a movie that wasn't a raging trash fire, a better movie, a Spider-Man movie perhaps, he could have been a great Kraven. Aaron Taylor Johnson could be a legit action star. He could. Put him in a John Wick movie, match him up against Keanu, I don't think he would look out of place at all. So ATJ is good. The rest of the movie is so unbelievably bad I felt embarrassed on his behalf. Like the action, for example. Let me clarify, okay? The action in the movie is dog shit. It's improved, not saved, but improved only because Aaron Taylor Johnson is so convincing. But no matter how good he is at performing action, there was just no getting past this. Because the way these sequences are staged and choreographed and shot is so cartoonish and lame-brained and silly, you can't even keep a straight face during these things. The action might be halfway decent if you have no idea how human bodies move and how the laws of physics work, but it's really hard to disregard that stuff when you see an ordinary crossbow bolt blast a grown man 10 feet across a room or Kraven running across a wall on all fours like a cat. You have no idea how fucking dumb this shit looks. They try to incorporate all this weird animal stuff into Kraven's fighting style, but it doesn't even make sense. His powers come from lion blood. I know, just go with it. So you'd think he'd be like Lion-O from Thundercats or something. Have lion characteristics, lion-based powers, that kind of shit. But he also swings on stuff like a monkey. He can jump 50-foot distances like a kangaroo, possibly? And he has telescopic vision, like a... if I know, a porcupine? makes about as much sense as anything else in this movie. So Kraven's fighting style is utterly batshit and makes no sense at all, and when the movie enhances it with some really fucking terrible CG and wire work, these action sequences are hilariously awful. And I mean that. I challenge you to watch the prison escape scene at the beginning of the movie and not bust a gut laughing. Pretty much all the action scenes are like that, or worse. And there's a particular one involving a helicopter that... Oh, f it, I won't spoil it for you, but... wow. I mean, in those rare moments when Kraven's just fighting like a normal person, the action is fine. It's nothing you'll remember the next day, but it's fine. Aaron Taylor-Johnson's really good at that stuff. But when they break out the animal shit, it's hard to even imagine what they were thinking. And that extends to everything else in the movie, too. The story is just pulled out of the writer's assholes, where Kraven gets weird-ass animal powers from lion blood and some bullshit Deus Ex Machina magic potion that is not explained, gets brought up in like 3 or 4 scenes and then it's never mentioned again, and then the rest of the movie is Kraven assassinating all the people he doesn't like in some incredibly long-winded, dragged-out, convoluted, boring-ass plot about mob bosses and underworld enforcers who have a beef with Kraven's dad, broken up only by an extended flashback to Kraven as this plank of wood, dull as a bag of doorknobs teenager, which goes on for fucking ages, by the way. And not just that, but the movie keeps changing its mind about what the fucking story is. First, it's about Kraven's dad being a dick, and then it's about Kraven killing anyone he thinks is bad, and then it's about him teaming up with Calypso so she can feed him more names to cross off his hit list, and then it's about some other mob bosses trying to usurp the dad, and then it's about this mysterious enforcer killing other people, and then it's about Kraven saving his brother, and then mother goddamn fucking then! Jesus Christ, how many different versions of the script did they cram into this thing? The movie doesn't even have any internal logic to it and just tries to exposit away all the stupid parts it didn't have time for, because there are other characters with animal powers, which they never explain those either. How did I get animal powers, you ask? Well, I met a doctor whose name comic fans will recognize. Wink. He did a thing to me, and that's the story of how I got animal powers. And that's not just the origin of one character with animal powers, it's the origin of multiple characters with animal powers. You. But on top of that, on top of the bullshit animal powers, there's also a guy with super speed. At least, I think it's super speed. He doesn't move any faster than a normal person, but it's really confusing the way they shot it. It's like they were trying to copy the Quicksilver sequences from the Fox X-Men movies, but with no budget, effort, ambition, or talent whatsoever. Also, they played this weird hissing sound effect during it because super speed is a power that snakes have, I guess? Oh, who the hell knows? They never explain what that motherfucker's deal is. Did he also find a doctor who did a thing to him? Beats me. Seriously, it's so weird that a movie where characters have powers derived from animals seems to have no fucking clue how animals work. Like, for some reason, the movie thinks that rhinos are completely indestructible and, at the same time, much less powerful than a buffalo. Don't ask. Just don't. Yeah, remember the Paul Giamatti rhino from The Amazing Spider-Man 2? That was more comics accurate than what this movie did. So not really spoiling anything here, but you see a few other comic characters make appearances. The Chameleon's in it too, but oh my god, it's so fucking stupid what they do with him. That's another part where you'll just laugh your ass off at the absurdity of it. I swear, there are so many times in this movie where you'll just scratch your head and wonder, were the filmmakers even trying here? Did they actually think this was good? Or were they just trolling us? You've got a villain infamous for hunting animals in the comics who's an anti-hero that only hunts people in the movie. Characters who grew up in Russia and England speaking with perfect American accents. I mean, what the f are we doing here? Were they just goofing off and doing stupid shit to amuse themselves? That's what the whole movie felt like. And you know what? While the filmmakers were apparently having fun with all this silly bullcrap they put in there for shits and giggles, maybe they could have spared a minute or two to make the movie at least interesting to look at. It's a movie about a comic book character, sort of, and this guy is all about animals, lives in the forest, is at one with nature and all that shit. So you'd think that the movie would be really bright and colorful and earthy and embrace that whole comic aesthetic, right? No. No, it's the exact opposite. Everything is dull and gray and desaturated. There's no color or imagination in anything. The cinematography is just boring and ugly to look at, and that's before they get to the action. Once the action starts happening, it gets even worse. You've got practical stunts that look downright silly because of the animal gimmick, made even stupider by some truly horrendous CG that just make Kraven's powers seem f***ing laughable. And speaking of laughable things, speaking of horrendous filmmaking, the ADR. Holy shit, the ADR in this movie is Madam Web quality. It's as bad or worse than the ADR in any other movie this year. There were a couple of times when they were on close-ups of someone's face, and I'm like, bro, what the f is going on with your voice? Because they sounded like they were saying their lines in a sound booth, getting them enhanced in unnatural sounding ways by an inexperienced intern while the real audio engineer was in the bathroom squeezing one out. An experience that was probably a lot more fulfilling than working on this particular piece of shit. And another thing. Why was this movie rated R? The studios seemed really excited about this rating. They really played it up in the advertising. Look at how brutal this movie is. Look at Kraven murder people. Look at him bite this guy's nose off. Buckle your seatbelts because this Sony Spiderverse movie is so bloody and hardcore and badass. All that f***ing nonsense. What a joke. There's only a couple F-bombs in the film that they could have easily cut out. There's nothing especially brutal about the action, and 99% of the blood is CG. A few little tweaks in the editing bay, and this is a PG-13 movie. Don't fall for any of that horse hockey. Holy gods, this was embarrassing. I can't even understand Sony's thought process on this one. This entire project feels like Aaron Taylor Johnson, bless his heart, was the only one who ever gave a shit about it. This was really f***ing bad. I mean, you've got Russell Crowe in there doing a passable Russian accent, but he's very clearly in show up, get a paycheck and leave mode. Aaron Taylor Johnson tried, he did, but there was no amount of lipstick that was ever gonna make this pig look any good. Aside from ATJ, the only thing that elevates Kraven even slightly above Madam Web is that it is kind of unintentionally funny. That's one thing I'll give it. The movie isn't even worth the space it's taking up on Sony's hard drive, but it made me laugh. It wasn't supposed to, but between the ridiculous, cartoonish action sequences, the idiotic, nonsensical script, the borderline incompetent filmmaking, CG that was so cheap it might as well have been rendered in iMovie, and how it gets instantly forgettable performances from not one, but 2 Academy Award-winning actors, I got a good chuckle out of this thing. But at the end of the day, do a few ironic laughs make Kraven the Hunter worth seeing? You tell me. That's right. There were 3 whole people in my theater on opening night. Bigger crowd than I expected, to be honest with you. And by the time the credits rolled, there was only 1. Lucky me. So that's yet another big fat L for the Sony Spiderverse, which, between this, Venom 3 succumbing to the law of diminishing returns, not to mention the catastrophic failure of Madam Web, has not had a great year. But hey, don't worry, Amy Pascal. I'm sure that Silver Sable movie you're developing will get you back on track in no time. Yeah, we're talking about a movie so bad, which the studio had so little faith in, that it effectively killed the Sony Spiderverse, for now at least, before it even premiered.
And nothing of value was lost.
So, I'll be damned. At least one good thing came out of this. The Sony Spiderverse is dead, at least until they try to do it again. Kraven the Hunter may have been a giant lump of coal, but looks like my Christmas present came early this year. God bless us, everyone. And one more thing. This isn't part of the review, I just thought it was funny. Longtime subscribers who found me through the Supergirl videos will get a kick out of this. Remember the episode where Kara wanted to the little kid she was babysitting? That kid is in the movie. I checked his IMDb to make sure it was him. He plays young Kraven in the flashbacks. And the second he popped up on screen, I could not take anything he did seriously. I was cracking up through the whole damn thing. Oh man. You gotta take your entertainment where you can get it, I guess. Thanks for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The YouTube notifications are pretty shoddy these days, so following my Twitter is the best way to make sure you never miss a video. I'm also on Blue Sky now, the links are right down there. And most importantly, don't forget to smash that like button, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to have its nose bitten off by a dude with batshit nonsensical animal powers and be covered in really fake-looking CG blood is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.